Young girls living in limbo, sadness and desperation permeating every aspect of their interrupted lives as they linger in a Baghdad female juvenile prison. Some face punishment for prostitution. Others are charged with ties to terrorism. And then there are the victimized victims. Zina's sad journey to this place began 2 years ago. My father came and took me to go visit my grandfather in Syria, says Zina, and I went with him. The family trip was a cover story. Like others here, Zina found herself faced with the most horrific possible reality. She says she had been sold into sexual slavery. Forcefully taken from Syria to the United Arab Emirates, the frightened 13-year-old refused to surrender to such a horrendous fate. She ran. I'm proud of myself, says Zina. I turned myself into the police and decided not to stay in that situation. Authorities in Dubai helped her return to Iraq. But instead of being comforted, Zina was prosecuted. Her crime? Traveling on a forged passport. She says it was the only way she could make it back home. She's now serving 2 years in prison. A prison official confirms her story. Trafficking is a growing problem in Iraq. Some vulnerable women, desperate to support their families, are tricked into it by accepting fake marriage proposals. Many young girls, their parents desperate for money, are just sold outright.
In some ways, the fate is worse than death. Once they've been trafficked, there's a stigma, even though they're the victims in this horrific situation where they've been exploited and they've been trafficked to another country with no legal recourse.
Even the ones who manage to escape will never truly be free. Try as they might to shield themselves from a tribal society's cruel gaze, unsparing judgment will follow them wherever they go. As difficult as it is for the girls in this prison, and as much as they want their freedom, many of them are extremely afraid that when they do get out, they won't have much of a future to look forward to. A sense of injustice pervaded every story we were told. Some girls discovered they were to be trafficked and tried to stop it. Fatin says that when she found out her father was attempting to sell her, she sought help from the law. I ran away from Najaf and escaped to Baghdad, where I found my mother and asked her if she knew what my father was planning, explains Fatin. So she took me to court in Baghdad. We got a lawyer and brought a case against my father. Months passed and the lawsuit was never heard.
Why is the Iraqi government not prosecuting traffickers? There hasn't been a case of prosecution against a trafficker that we're aware of. Why isn't the Iraqi government not passing a law to make it more difficult for trafficking?
While awaiting justice, Fatin's father raped her. After the attack, she killed him. After that, Iraqi authorities did get involved. She is currently serving the 5th year of a 15-year sentence. But at 22, Fatin, like several of her fellow inmates, is too old to remain in a juvenile facility. She'll soon have to serve out the rest of her term in a prison for adults, a much harsher environment. The girls fear the transfer, but it's their eventual release that they're even more afraid of. Yes, there is freedom outside, says Fatin, but people don't forgive. They don't have mercy. Life hasn't been kind to these girls. They're reminded each and every day how that will likely never change. Mohammed Jamjoom, CNN, Baghdad.